Hey there. Have you ever looked at something in your house, your phone, your sneakers, maybe even your coffee mug, and wondered, how on earth did this get here? Well, today, we're pulling back the curtain on the incredible world of international shipping. We're going to map out that entire complex journey step by step.
I mean, think about it. It seems almost impossible, right? You've got this massive web of ships, planes, and trucks that all have to sync up perfectly. So how does it actually work without everything falling apart? Turns out there's a secret weapon, a key player in this whole game.
And here it is, the freight forwarder. The easiest way to think of them is like the ultimate travel agent, but for your stuff. They don't own the ships or the planes, but they are the master conductors of the entire orchestra. They handle all the ridiculously complex logistics, so you don't have to. So what does this whole trip actually look like? Well, you'll see that every single international shipment, no matter how big or small, follows a pretty clear, structured path. It's basically broken down into 4 main stages. This right here is our roadmap for today. We're going to follow a package all the way from its starting point, through customs on both sides of the world, across the ocean, and right up to the final delivery. So let's start at the very beginning. Okay, Act 1, the first mile. This is everything, and I mean everything, that has to happen to get your goods ready before they even think about leaving their home country. And believe it or not, it all starts with a very specific rulebook. They're called Incoterms, and these are literally the official rules of the road for global trade. They answer the single most important question: who pays for what, and when does the responsibility shift from the seller to the buyer? Getting this right from the start is absolutely crucial. So, for example, if you agree to EXW or XWorks, the buyer is responsible for pretty much everything right from the factory door. With FOB, or free on board, the seller gets it onto the ship, and then it's the buyer's problem. And with CIF, the seller handles the cost and insurance all the way to the destination port. The bottom line, you have to know which term you're using, because it decides who's on the hook for costs and risks. All right, our paperwork is sorted, we know who's responsible for what, and our package is ready for Act 2, the main event. This is the big voyage, whether it's crossing a vast ocean or flying high across continents. And this is where you have to make your first big choice. If your goods are traveling by sea, you're looking at FCL versus LCL. FCL means you've booked a full container load. The whole container is yours. It's faster and more secure. But if you don't have enough stuff to fill one up, LCL, or less than container load, is your budget-friendly option. You basically get to share the space and the cost with other people. And that choice you just made directly impacts where your stuff physically goes at the port. If you went with FCL, your container hangs out in the main container yard, the CY. But if you're sharing with LCL, your boxes go to a place called the Container Freight Station, or CFS, where they get grouped together with everyone else's stuff. And of course, it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. Most things travel in a standard dry container. But if you're shipping, say, fresh flowers or medicine, you'll need a refrigerated one, called a reefer. And for something gigantic, like a piece of factory machinery, you'll need an open-top or a flat-rack container to handle that massive, awkward cargo. But what if you need it there fast, so you choose to fly it? With air freight, it's not just about how heavy your package is. Airlines care just as much about space. So they figure out both its actual weight and its volumetric weight. Basically, how much room it hogs on the plane. And guess what? You pay for whichever one is higher. So yeah, a huge box of light, fluffy pillows could actually cost more to ship than a tiny, heavy box of lead weights. And just like that, our package has made it across the world. We are now entering Act 3, the final mile. It has officially arrived in the destination country, but it's not home free just yet. There are a few more critical hurdles to clear. While you're nervously refreshing that tracking page, you're going to see a bunch of acronyms. You'll have the POL, the port of loading where it started, and the POD, the port of discharge where it landed. You'll see the ETD, when it was supposed to leave, and you'll be desperately waiting for the ETA, the estimated time of arrival. Now, before your package can be released, it has to face the final gatekeeper, customs. This is the official process where the authorities inspect your shipment to make sure everything's legal, safe, and that all the proper taxes and duties get paid. There is absolutely no way around this step. And getting through customs smoothly is all about the paperwork. It's like a passport for your package. You need the commercial invoice for the value, the packing list detailing the contents, the bill of lading as proof of ownership, and often a certificate of origin. Seriously, one tiny mistake here can get your shipment stuck in limbo for weeks. Speaking of that bill of lading, it can get a little confusing because there are actually two types. The master BL is the contract between the shipping line itself and your freight forwarder. But the one you care about is the house BL. That's your contract, the one from your forwarder that says, yep, we've got your goods.
Now, as you look at your final invoice, you might see this weird charge called THC. What is it? It's actually super simple. These are the terminal handling charges. It's just the fee the port charges for using their giant cranes and equipment to physically lift your container off the ship and move it around. It's a standard cost of doing business. So once it's cleared customs, the journey is almost over. And if you chose a door-to-door service, this is where your freight forwarder really shines. They handle that final leg too, arranging the truck to pick it up from the port and deliver it right to your warehouse or your front step, making this whole mind-boggling process feel incredibly simple. So there we have it. We followed our package from a factory on one side of the planet to a front door on the other. Now, let's take everything we've learned and turn it into a practical playbook that you can actually use. Look, at the end of the day, picking a freight forwarder is a huge decision. And my biggest piece of advice is to look beyond just the cheapest price. You need a real partner, somebody with a solid global network who can offer all the services you need and who has a reputation for being reliable. They're not just a vendor, they're your guide, your problem solver on the world stage. And that's the journey. Global trade might seem intimidating, but as you can see, every single step is logical and totally manageable when you have the right knowledge and, of course, the right partner. What might have looked like a massive barrier before is really just a map. So, the only question left is, where in the world do you want to go next?